Here we are. Got my 1967 Bridgestone GTR 350. Had this one for a while. Bought it. It's been restored years ago, so the tins and everything in pretty good shape. It's a fairly good bike. Thing is, the top end is noisy. So today, I'm thinking try some wrist pins and wrist pin bearings. I got a feeling it's got the main bearings out of it or some type of needle bearings behind the clutch. But before I start taking that stuff way apart, I figured I can get the tank and get the seat off, take the top end of the cylinders, and see if I can't swap out those wrist pins. I did get the original ones here. Ordered up brand new bearings and wrist pins. So like I said, this bike had been restored a while back, and I think they took two bikes and made it into one. So I think whatever better parts on the engine were there. When I first got this, I had to have the exhaust manifold flange, because this is an early engine, so the flanges were kind of apart from the cylinders, and these were notorious for popping out there. So I did have a local machine shop. They did grind away at some of these fins, and they welded that up and actually retapped it. So I mean, that's been 3 or 4 years ago, so they did a really good job on that, because as far as I remember, these cylinders were excellent inside, and pistons and that sort of thing. This bike has some other small issues, but over the years I've gotten the titles worked out, the license on there, about 5,900 miles. I don't know if this is actual miles, because somewhere I think the tack might have been changed and this might have been changed. But like I said, they tried to use the best parts from two bikes, make it into one. So like I said, this one is in really nice shape. I have ridden it probably 100 miles. I've messed with the jetting quite a bit. It still had the stock jets in there from the 40 mains and or 140 mains and the, was that 30, I think, pilot jet. So I took it down to a 130 and then a 22 and a half, and that seems to work out pretty well. It drips oil, of course, but clutch does work pretty good, the dry clutch. Oil tank, I can never get these to seal up. I just use copper washers on this now, but you can tell it's just a little bit wet. But yeah, I'm gonna pull the tank off, pull the seat off. I'm gonna start with the left cylinder, because I've had that one apart before. And I was getting that exhaust flange fixed. So I'll probably fire it up here in a second, kind of show you what it sounds like. Let's see if I can't fire this up just on the stand right here. Should be gas in it, hopefully. The battery should still be good. It's up here on the 350. Choke. Tip over. Should be 2-3 kicks. So I can't tell if that's up on top or if it's the main bearings. Tough to say. I don't know a whole lot about these, but like I said, I spent a lot of times with my 175s, so I've kind of practiced on those three. I've had videos on all three of those too, getting those up and running, and now it's time to make this one sound just as nice. Just pulled the exhaust flange and the head off, and it seems a little weird why, and I just did start it and stop it. I don't know why that's got that milky oil look to it. I mean, maybe just because I just start and stopped it that quick, but you can tell the inside of the cylinder seems to be in good shape. I'll take better pictures later, but still, there's a piston, no holes or anything. So I'm pretty sure this one's in pretty good shape. I'll check a little bit more here in a second. Finally got the jugs and the pistons off. Pistons looking pretty good shape. Rings seem pretty good shape. I mean, no dings, no marks. Like I said, the cylinders all look pretty good shape, and there's no bubbling or bad chrome or anything. I mean, there's some wear marks, you know, if the piston's been running, but I think that stuff will clean up pretty nicely. Here's the right cylinder, same thing. It just pulled this one off. It's like a little dot right there. I'm not really sure what that's all about, but it really shouldn't hurt anything. Everything else just has nice smooth coating of oil on it. Same thing with this piston. And it's got some, and I can't even feel those marks. But like this thing sat still for a really long time, so I don't know if that just came from corrosion from sitting. And then the crank, you can tell, must have had water in. I think that's kind of because you can tell how the webs have that rust on there. Not wild about that stuff. The wrist pins, I mean, wrist pin bearings, if you can see. They seem like in pretty good shape, seem pretty tight. I don't know, guessing it probably was the main bearings, or is the main bearings. This one's a little bit noisier. You can't tell on the thing here. But when I roll it over, you can hear a little bit of gear noise. Almost hear a little bit of, I can't do it very fast. I don't want to bang out my cases, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. I don't know, I'm gonna go inside and think about it for a while. Do I want to continue on, take this engine apart, split the whole case, or put the wrist pins in it, bearings, run it? At least I know that stuff is new. I mean, I really didn't feel like doing this whole thing right now, but that's kind of my update. I'm gonna start the reassembly process. I had just put the pistons back on, got the pins in there and the new wrist pins. So that stuff is all in there ready to go. I did take these check ball for the oil pump system on the crankshaft. I took those out and kind of did a little suck and blow, make sure those things are, you know, holding the back pressure but letting oil through. That all seems good. I do have new gaskets on my cylinder. Lately, I have been using a thin layer of the Honda Bond on those too. I just kind of, you know, just to lube it up a little bit. Some guys use grease. Some guys don't use anything. I don't know, just something that could come apart again, because I get the feeling this one will be coming apart again soon to do the crank bearings, because there was a lot of evidence of moisture down inside the crank, and I had some notes from the guy that kind of put this bike together 20 years ago that they had moisture down there. So this is just kind of a, see if I can make it any better. If not, you know, it's time to do the full rebuild, because I said it needs a couple of little issues, but the bike is nice enough and clean enough. It'll be worth it, just not right now. So I'm gonna lube up those cylinders, slide that stuff on, and then I'll torque down the heads and start to reassemble. Hopefully it goes pretty quickly. All right, everything back together. Kind of moment of truth. See if everything I did helped at all, or if it's going to be just as noisy as it was, which I'm pretty sure it will be. So I just tried the wrist pins in there and cleaned up the crank the best I could, but there was a lot of water in there. Let's turn this on. I'm going to be hitting the oil pump too, just to make sure that's primed. full rebuild. Those main bearings must have got water in them for too long, and maybe when the guy put them in, maybe they just ended up having too much moisture in there. So put this one back on the shelf. But the rest of them, maybe this winter I'll pull it back down, and I think I got the bearings for it. I don't know if I have seals down there, but I'll kind of compile some parts and see what we can get.